They were both stars, of course, of the brilliant MGM studio system, some people might say. But of course, with all great ladies of a certain era, there were certain things that both ladies wanted, and one of them wanted what the other had got. We're talking, of course, about the international icons of the studio system, none other than Dame Elizabeth Taylor, who I was lucky enough to meet, and of course, the wonderful Lana Turner. But apparently, even though they all had many marriages between them, there was one man that they both wanted, and only one of them got him. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning. Nice to see you. How are you? Now, when you look back at videos and stuff, as I often say, it's very difficult because I don't own a lot of the footage. A lot of it belongs to a lot of the channels that you're working for at the time, so it's difficult to even put pictures because the copyright becomes a little bit tricky. But way back in April 1999, cast your mind back all of those years, right? As a very young reporter, I was sent off to the wonderful Dorchester Hotel in the epicenter of Park Lane to meet none other than Dame Elizabeth Taylor. Now, Dame Elizabeth was in town because she was receiving the BAFTA Fellowship Award, and basically, I always found this a bit odd. I don't mind sharing this with you because this was a hotel that was synonymous really with Elizabeth Taylor. After all, it was the place where she'd filmed and been based herself with Cleopatra, the romance, of course, with the love of her life, Richard Burton. And there we were on that particular morning, around about 11 o'clock, with Dame Elizabeth now looking a little bit frailer than she had in a few years earlier when I'd seen her last appearing at the Victoria Palace Theatre with the Little Foxes. But she was in town nonetheless to pick up an award. Wonderful, lovely, fun lady, And when you think about it, as I've often said, when you're lucky enough to meet these people, you're looking into the eyes of people that have literally met historical figures, people that really you've just no idea, that they could possibly have known them, stuff like that. But it is fascinating nonetheless. And Elizabeth Taylor did not, of course, disappoint, talking about everybody from Montgomery Clift to Peter Lawford to Lassie to my friend Mickey Rooney. She just talked, and it was just wonderful to be in her presence. Of course, when you ask stars what are certain people like, their memory is not your memory. You have to remember that. So when you're talking about the likes of, say, Marilyn Monroe or something like that, to many people around the world, she's an icon. To Elizabeth Taylor, she was a rival, all thanks to the deal with 20th Century Fox. You see? So totally different story. But I asked Elizabeth Taylor, who did she feel was the sexiest man that she'd ever met and would have liked to have made a film with? Now, naturally, I was thinking on the lines of James Dean, maybe Montgomery Clift or so many others, Robert Mitchum, people like that. She'd literally worked with everybody. So you can understand when you think, well, this was a bit of a shock. Now, apparently, you see, one of the men that she truly adored was none other than 007 himself, the late Sean Connery. Now, apparently, though, there was a bit of a feud between her and the one-time resident blonde of MGM, Lana Turner. And this really did escalate because in the late 50s, Lana starred with Sean Connery pre-Bond in one of his very first big films, Another Place and Time, playing lovers. So much so that apparently he got into a fracas with her then boyfriend, the gangster Johnny Stompanato, and apparently punched his lights out, and that got worldwide headlines and made the movie a success. According to Dame Elizabeth Taylor, though, Lana threw herself at Sean Connery. Love the way they say these things, don't you? And Sean just felt compelled, of course, to fall into her arms. Yes, I know. Now, what was interesting was she said that even at this particular age that she was, in the late 90s, coming up to the noughties, she still would have loved to have appeared in a movie with him. She said he was one of the most exciting actors she'd ever met, and she thought he was brilliant and electric on screen. And it's funny, isn't it, when you replay these videos, you forget those stories, you think, oh, wow, I forgot about that, I did ask her, who did she like in today's climate, and she said the likes of Antonio Banderas was very good, and she thought Brad Pitt was cute, and, all that sort of stuff. But for her, it simply had to be Bond, the original Bond himself, 007. I did slip in the fact that, do you think you would have liked to have been a Bond girl? She said she would have been too old, but she would have liked to have been a Bond baddie. And it got me thinking, wouldn't she have been good as M, which was later recreated by Dame Judi Dench? Pause for thought there, eh? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.